Keep ancient lands, your storied pomp, cries she with silent lips. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. This is a piece of the poem that is by Emma Lazarus. It's on one of the most famous American symbols that there is. The United States is a powerful country with intelligent people, great opportunities, and all that was built by immigrants. The mass majority of the United States population is made up of immigrants, whether it was their grandparents who made the trek to the free world, or if it was them themselves. But who of these Americans are native to the land? The Native Americans of the United States make up 8.87% of the entire population, and there's a population within them that have been given the gift of having sovereign nations within the United States. But occasionally, the laws of these nations clash with the laws of the federal government. What it means to be sovereign is that there's a defined territory that a people have complete rule over. They are independent government, and they have the best interests of their citizens in mind. But for the Native Americans within the United States, there's a tribal sovereignty, and they are treated as a nation within a nation. And the U.S. does recognize them as having a distinct government, but they relinquish certain rights, the Native Americans do, with their land and they get promises back from our federal government. There's one tribe in Mendota, Minnesota that in 1805 made a treaty with the federal government, and they relinquished quite a bit of their land. And in turn, the federal government told them that they were allowed to fish and hunt on this land as they did culturally for years. But recently, they haven't been allowed to fish as they had been promised. So, for example, last Friday, the 13th, the tribe went to Cedar Lake in Minneapolis, and they put nets in at 2 a.m. to show their right to do what they were promised as the treaty said. And the DNR came in 2 hours later and had them take out all their nets, and they are now waiting for a court date. And that is actually what the Native Americans wanted, so that they could go to court and they could get what their treaty promised them. And here's a map. All the white is the sovereign nations, Native American sovereign nations within the United States. But for our case study, we're going to look at the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation in South Dakota. Pine Ridge is a Lakota reservation of the Oglala, and they're one of the poorest Indian reservations in the world, some of the poorest living in the United States. Their economy is very poor, and they're at 85% unemployment. This is what an average house looks like on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation. This is one of the trailers. It houses about 18 people on average, and it has no insulation, and it usually doesn't have running water or indoor plumbing. If it isn't this, there's houses that are probably 2 of our pods put together, and they house about 24 people. On this land, not a lot of agricultural plants, products can be grown because of the poor soil. But one thing that has been found to be able to thrive is industrial hemp. Now, industrial hemp is not a marijuana plant. It's its cousin, but it doesn't react with the human brain the same way as marijuana does. Industrial hemp is a very hardy plant that can grow almost anywhere on our earth and can be used to make quite a bit of products. If the average person looked at this picture right here, they probably would not be able to tell which plant was which. In fact, the plant on the left is marijuana, and the plant on the right is industrial hemp. Industrial hemp products are allowed to be sold within the United States. It's the growth of industrial hemp that is illegal because it is marijuana's cousin. Industrial hemp can be made into paper. In fact, the first 2 pages of our Constitution are made out of hemp paper. And Washington himself actually had hemp fields that he used. Ointments to treat things like eczema. It can be made into food with its oil, lotions and chapstick, clothes, and a lot of bracelets. Conflicts and compromises. The DNR goes into the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation every year as they are about to harvest their industrial hemp, and they take away all their crops, saying that although they are a sovereign nation, it's illegal within the United States boundaries. But according to the sovereign laws on Pine Ridge, they are legally allowed to grow industrial hemp to a certain THC value that they are not exceeding. What I believe should happen is that a compromise should be made between the two governments. The federal government should see and respect the tribal sovereignty that Pine Ridge has, and a lot of education to the public should be done to show how useful industrial hemp really is. They should compromise and let Pine Ridge grow industrial hemp so that they can boost their economy by having the industrial hemp fields and having industrial hemp products being sold and made within the Pine Ridge boundaries, and then sell them outside of the Pine Ridge Reservation because it's legal to sell the products once they're already made within the U.S. Being one of the most powerful nations in the world, the United States has been given a lot of responsibility. The responsibility that other nations will look up to them and depend on them, and the responsibility that they will be dependent on as a leader when the world needs them. But more than anything, the United States has the responsibility of making sure that each of its 300 million plus people are being treated fairly. And this includes the population of the sovereign nations within the boundaries of the U.S. Any questions? Yeah.
Did the Indians on the Pine Ridge Reservation, have they taken the government authority?
They have, but the DNR just says that they're within the U.S. boundaries. They come in every year. I was there last summer. I went on a mission trip. They've stopped trying to grow industrial hemp because they realize that it's a failed. They're never gonna. They've tried. But the crops keep coming back just because they're such a hardy plant that they're there now, and they're just gonna keep coming back. And every year the DNR comes back. Well, the DNR comes back and they take it all away. So they tried to go to court, but they just get ignored.
So they have no options at this point?
No, they keep they have no options.
Isn't it unusual that the Dakota tribe in South Dakota doesn't have a casino?
No, it's not unusual. Not a lot of Native American tribes actually have casinos. Right by us, Mystic Lake, they're very lucky to have that casino. And
Well, there's two of them up north.
yeah, but not a lot of Native American tribes across the U.S. actually have the casinos. Usually they don't have casinos, and they're usually some of the poorest economic areas in the United States.
What about the subsidies to the Indians
Um,
by U.S. government?
Since the Native Americans have they do get money from the government, but when they get it, it's more they use it for instant gratification since they have been raised in such a poor economic area because they get the money once a month and they'll use it to buy like a new truck because they've been treated so poorly because within their sovereign nation it's like they are only required to go to school until 8th grade, and since they're treated so poorly outside of their reservation, they see themselves as dumb and they use their money to try and show that they're better than everyone else and have a nice car or a nice TV or have cool parties. So if they were able to raise their economic or better their economic situation, they would see themselves as better and use their money to better their houses or make their education for their children a lot better.
Don't they also sponsor schools?
Not everywhere. Within the Pine Ridge Reservation, where I was, they had one elementary school that, it wasn't an elementary school, it went K through 8, and not every kid went every day. I was with a group of 3rd graders that couldn't read. It's not very, the schools aren't very enforced because not everyone cares. Parents don't really require their children to go to school because they see it as, I was treated poorly as a child, why should they get any different? So it's like a cycle, and if they were able to better their economic situation, they could better their schools, and their parents would see that the kids in the schools are doing better, so they'd send their children to school, and so on.